guys, welcome back to another Dragonheir Silent Gods video. In today's video I'm going to be covering another one of the bosses for the Eladia events that start on Friday for Season 3. That's for anybody who started at the start of the season. Anybody else will be when they go into the second month of Season 3. So before I get into the video, I do just want to say a huge thank you to Dragonheir Silent Gods for sponsoring this video. If you are interested in giving the game a try, please do click the link in the description or my pinned comment and get involved today. So the boss that I'm going to be covering in this video here is the Ice boss, which is weak to necrosis damage. So if we have a look here, as you can see, the damage requirements, 200,000 gets you the first reward, which is 1 Ice Ore. 3 million is the second reward, which is 2 Ice Ore. 7 million, 3 Ice Ore. 11 million, 4 Ice Ore. And finally 22 million is 5 Ice Ore. However, the way these work is there is a damage leaderboard, so any damage over that is really beneficial to you because it's going to help you to get the maximum rewards and get yourself Eladia sooner. So as I mentioned, we're going to be covering the Ice boss in this video today, showing you the team that I've used and running through the boss's skills and everything. So first of all, we'll jump into the boss's skills. As you can see, just like all of these bosses, you do need 270 accuracy. So first of all, the boss has a passive skill which you may recognise. When the monster is alive, it extends the duration of frost granted by allies by 5 seconds. Targets under frost will now explode in their current position every 1 second, dealing cold damage to enemies within range. So this is the ice hero Dragonheir. So next we've got the standard control immunity and the stacking damage bonus every time the ultimate skill is used. So that is the same for all of these bosses. As you can see at the top here, enemies take an additional 100% necrotic damage. So the battle skill is the same as Dragonheir as well. So it deals cold damage to enemies within range with a 100% chance of inflicting frost for 5 seconds. So it'll do that twice. And then finally the ultimate skill is an area damage around the boss, granting 25% attack up to all frost allies for 10 seconds. Then releases frozen air to deal cold damage to enemies within range with 100% chance of inflicting frost for 10 seconds. So obviously the frost debuff that he's placing is going to cause explosions around your heroes for every 1 second for the duration of it. So in an ideal world you want to avoid those. However, I'm not in the team I'm using, but I do have a team, like a method that you could use to completely avoid that and only have your tank taking damage for the whole fight. So just to show you that quickly, I'm not going to run the team because I'm using a very different team myself. But if you position yourselves like this, only your tank is going to be position yourself like this and run full ranged damage dealers. Sorry, only person taking damage is going to be your tank. So you could use somebody like the new epic from Meander. Yeah, so Vex here. Vex grants debuff immunity to all allies for 10 seconds. So when you are dealing with this boss, you could probably run Vex as your tank and have them in the front line on their own, granting debuff immunity, so the freeze is never going to happen. And then you just need 1 healer to keep them alive, and then 3 ranged damage dealers. In terms of ranged damage dealers, however, there are a few options. You can continue using Taudi from Shadow. You could use, you can't use Ozil or a Spouter because they are both considered melee. In terms of the fight, you could go for a Shadowbolt team, a Thunderbolt team, sorry, with Pacunte. Nope. Wrong boss, this is necrosis. So you need Shadow or Summoners. So there are a few options in Shadow for AoE damage dealers. You could use Tatoth. Tatoth is a ranged damage dealer. Same with Daphne, they are both good options. However, it's not going to give you the same damage that the team I'm going to showcase you would. The other options for Summoners, there are some really good ranged damage dealers. Premt's obviously available as one, Joyce is available as one, and so is Zadok. They are both very strong. I've used them in previous Continental bosses and Chaos Shadows. If it wasn't for Shadow being a new thing, I would be reverting to using those for sure. There's also some rares like Aluya, who summons a load of skeletons and then gives attack speed up to all summoned allies as well. But this positioning, like I say, will prevent you from taking any of the frost damage apart on anybody other than your tank. So it's just a case of keeping your tank alive for 5 minutes, and then you've got free roam to do as much damage as you can. But yeah, as I mentioned, the team I'm using is kind of counterproductive to that. So first of all, I'm using Quesitia as my tank. She's not booked because I don't have her booked on live servers. I've got her built with the set to reduce the damage she takes by 25% if it's not a critical hit. And she's wearing the Rift Hourglass as well, just to bring her cooldowns down a little bit. And as well as that, obviously, she's got enough accuracy to place her debuffs. Next up, I've got my support in Nathaniel. So because I'm running melee, I do need to make sure they're staying alive for long enough. So Nathaniel was built wearing the Ancestral Protection set to reduce the damage everyone else is taking. He's not taking any damage himself, so it's not too big of a problem at all. And he's wearing the Elminster artifact to increase his shield size and duration as well. Next up, I've got a perfect combination which I've shown in Vortex, and that is Taudi paired with a Spouter. So Taudi I've got built with just under 100% crit rate, some crit damage, and some attack, not really anything crazy, and enough accuracy to place Witch's Remains, which paired with a Spouter, I can keep almost 100% uptime on. A Spouter is once again built with a good amount of attack, good amount of crit rate, and some crit damage, not crazy. She's built with just some attack speed and some skill haste just to make sure she's hitting frequently to increase the shadow energy of everybody else and herself. In terms of artifacts, I'm using Ravatrix's Roots on her. Next up, I've got Ozul. So Ozul is built in the Rhapsodist set because the damage he does when he's in his demon form is all considered basic attacks, and it then ignores 20% of the target's defense. He is always in his demon form once he goes into it once, and obviously attack speed does benefit him as well, just like it would a Dauntless damage dealer. I've got him built with 100% crit rate, 183% crit damage, and a good chunk of attack, wearing the Shadow Spawn artifact, so not his exclusive, just the exclusive for shadows. It does deal a huge amount of, well, it's really impactful for him when he's got two people funneling him with shadow energy. So that is the team. Obviously, like I said, it's a little bit counterproductive to the strategy I was talking about, but you'll see how it performs in just a second. So as soon as Ozul goes into his shadow form, he does jump into the boss and therefore becomes a melee for the entire fight. So there we go, he is now getting hit by everything. You'll see all the ice, frost explosions around the 3 melee. But it doesn't seem to do too much damage. It honestly feels like these bosses are a little bit more tame than they were last season and in Season 1 in terms of the damage output. I don't believe off the top of my head that this team did survive the full 5 minutes, however, in the tests I've done, but it did do a good amount of damage and give me enough to be able to obviously get the top rewards and hopefully get a decent-ish leaderboard ranking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this run play out, and I'll be back at the end of the run to show you the results, obviously, and talk about how it went. And there we go. So as you can see, my 2 damage dealers did die incredibly quickly in the melee. However, they were able to burst a really large amount of damage very quickly to get me to the top rewards. It does go to show, though, the solo tank in the melee can survive very easily to the full 5 minutes, allowing you to bring 4 ranged damage dealers. However, I'm not convinced that any 4 ranged damage dealers on my account would be able to compete the amount of burst damage of Ozul and a Spouter together. So I will still be running this team. Not just for that, though, I do have them already built, which is a massive advantage because at this point of the season, having enough energy to build all of these different teams is really quite taxing. So I wanted to try and avoid building as many new things as possible, and I do have the 3 shadow damage dealers already leveled up for this, so it just makes it easier for me to commit to that. But it goes to show that melee can work. If you are lucky enough to have Ozul, you can use this team, you will get the top reward. However, you may find it slightly more beneficial to run 4 ranged if you're not in the position to have somebody like Ozul who can burst all of that damage so quickly. I think it was, almost instantly, it was able to clear the 22 million. I think they died about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes in, and it was already past that point. So yeah, this is the team I'm going to be using. I did just want to showcase that to show people that it is an option, as well as obviously talking about a different way of getting to that maximum damage threshold by just using 1 tank in the melee with 1 healer. And Nathaniel did a great job at keeping Quesitia alive for long enough. But yeah, So that is all for this boss and all for this video. So I do just want to say once again a huge thank you to Dragonheir Silent Gods for sponsoring this video. If you are enjoying the look of the game, please do remember to hit the link in the description or the pinned comment. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. Please do let me know who you're using in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.